All right, Mark, you officially tell me I'm nervous. So guess what? I am. So this is our first official podcast of Power Pro Plumbing. So Mark, it's a pleasure having you here the last couple of days here. We learned so much from you. So definitely want to say thank you from the Power Pro family. For us, it was the timing of you coming in. You have no idea how much you impact. But before anything, let me tell you, the Power Pro family right away connect with Mark. Everybody feel very comfortable. They feel very connected, helpful, and everybody speak very well about how Mark is making an impact. So guess what? That's one of the reasons we, as a company, we decided to have Mark come and join us and continue to help our team. So I definitely want to say thank you, and Carlos.
Yeah, we appreciate you being here. I think we needed an I, not a D. We couldn't make this happen over the last 7 years, but here we are. 3 months? Right? Been about 3 months.
We started a little over 3 months. Yeah,
3 months, and we said, okay, this is the guy. We knew right away. You had us at hello.
Most anything, I appreciate the opportunity to come out and spend some time with the team here at Power Pro Plumbing and HVAC. It's been very enlightening and very endearing. The receptivity and what I have seen as far as the culture that y'all embody and what is sewn into the roots here. There's a great root system, and so for me to be a part of that, I appreciate that as well. The invitation was very warm and very welcome and very greatly appreciated.
How about those tacos?
And today's tacos, I'm still, it's funny, I'm full, but I'm still yearning for those tacos. They were so good.
You guys ever hear Taco Tuesday? We did a Thursday taco, so I guess we still keep it on that T. But yeah, so it was a taco day. So all right, so anyways.
That is part of the fabric. We show our guests that we care about them through food.
That's exactly right. I did not have any hunger issues this week at all. So
let me share a story. Last time we had a guest and we went to the handmade tortillas tacos, and I say, so what do you think? How do you see things? How do you digest in our company? He said, man, I'm trying to digest those tacos. So it was something funny. So I'm not going to ask you, how does you digest in our company?
Oh my goodness.
Anyways, but first thing, definitely thank you. It's an honor having you here, and definitely want to say thank you from the Power Pro family. But we just gonna introduce you a little bit. You want to want to go ahead and tell us who Mark is for that.
Yeah, so I am implementation coach here with a company called Nexstar Network. Nexstar Network's been in business now for 30 years, and we really have one focus, and our main focus is to take the world's greatest tradespeople, such as yourself, that grew up in the industry, and help them become strong and great business owners and business leaders, either through yourself or through the people that you actually have that's a part of that. And so with Nexstar Network, I've been there for about a year. When I found out about Nexstar Network, or when Nexstar Network found out about me, I have to say I became very intrigued. I was very, I can't even think of the right words to say, but I fell in love.
Smitten.
Yeah, I was very smitten with it. And then I also had the emotion of disappointment that I worked in the industry for 20 years for other companies that could have used Nexstar Network. Even its very presence, it doesn't have to get in depth, with somebody showing up and coming out and spending time with the companies, but just to have some of those processes and best practices. And the compliment here for you, and I shared this with you the other day, is that you are the rare one, actually 0.1%. There's very few companies that make that commitment to actually bring in somebody from the outside, and then for us to be able to be a part of that. There's not enough words to actually say what it means to actually have that vision, that pioneering, and that courage to move forward. So welcome to the 0.1%, and thank you for letting Nexstar, be that 0.1% delivery system for you. So,
well, here you can answer the question a little bit. I was gonna ask you, why the home service? What do you like about the home service that attract you or still keep you here for up to those years? What can you share about that in regards to that?
My story starts with, I actually began in the jewelry business. A lot of people look at me and they're like, okay, I can see you being in the jewelry business, but I was in the jewelry business for almost 20 years, and I had a very lucrative career. And somebody invited me to come in as a salesman or as a comfort advisor. And I have to be as transparent as possible when I say this. This industry can be very, very taxing. It can be very heavy on us, especially for perfectionists such as myself, and for people who want to do the best when it comes to consumers and when it comes to helping people. I like helping people. And I asked this question of many of our shops, many of our service leaders, many of our owners, what makes you get up every single day and, pull your shoelaces on or the bootstraps up and say, I'm going to do it again, because it's really a bad industry. There's so many things that are against us, and it's the ignorance sometimes of the consumer. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean that they just don't know stuff about what the industry is really doing. I tell people we're not saving lives, but we sure the heck are changing them and affecting them every single day. So I got invited into the industry just to do in-home sales because it was like, okay, this is a very lucrative thing. Let's do this. I stay in the industry because I felt like somebody had to defend the consumer.
Oh, that's really awesome to hear that. Carlos, why the home service industry from your perspective?
The people. I think, initially my story is I was going to school looking towards a CPA career, accounting, because I am an introvert, and we spoke about this. At heart, I like to be in a desk just kind of plugging away, right? I'm good at it. That's what makes me happy. But what felt more comfortable and actually felt rewarding was helping first the technicians, right? So I kind of, from the technician standpoint of this, home services can be taxing on us. It's mentally and physically taxing. But getting to know the technicians and understand that, some individuals pick a career in the trades, HVAC, plumbing, or otherwise electrical. They should be able to create a good career and a way to build families and, have a prosperous life, while at the same time serving, right? Because we are in an industry of service. I didn't realize how much I yearned to serve others. And the way I found out I could do it best is by helping the techs. Because, many times I was asked, why don't you become a technician? You may be reserved, but you have an ability to communicate well. You have a way with words. Now, I didn't believe it then, and I don't believe it now. But some people, they tell me that. But the way I found myself in a place to serve is through the technicians, through not only the technicians, but the company that I work for and the team. Because, we saw the growth from a small company to where we're now at a larger company. And that excitement that every person within the company got to kind of experience was rewarding. And it's given me the opportunity to travel a lot, to meet a lot of technicians.
And just so you guys know, Carlos is our GM of the company. By the way, thank you, Carlos. All the work and effort you put in the company. I cannot be more pleased than say thank you. It's always been a pleasure having you. Carlos is started with us. I don't know, he was 18 years old, somewhere around those age, and continue to be part of the Power Pro family. It's an honor, it's a blessing, and I just want to say thank you.
Oh, I appreciate that, and it's it's definitely the opportunity and the people I've gone to work with. It's made a big difference.
Anyways, so all right, so now we're gonna go a little bit on maybe I'll continue a little bit direction, get to a couple more questions. What's the difference working with people versus coaching people? And I used to know working with people, but I know you're working a little differently.
Yeah.
Can you share the difference when you're in the operation versus the coaching? What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so one of the things that I've learned in when you're working with technicians, oftentimes what we do is we have to find different ways and be very tricky about connectivity, and you're almost sometimes being sneaky and persuasive in certain things, and it really wasn't effective. It wasn't one of those things that worked well. I have been coaching technicians and call center agents and comfort advisors for many, many years. The concept of coaching is to help people identify what it is, what is a struggle or an opportunity, and then to help them also come up with some concepts or ideas, or be open to and receptive to what is the right answer. So the example that I give is, when I'm almost like a therapist to some degree, when I get on the phone or on a Zoom or I get in person with somebody, I'll ask them some questions about what it is that they're like. What's today's struggle? What's your biggest struggle? What does it look like long term? What does it look like short term? How is it affecting you? And what are some of the ways that you would like to see it improve? And then from there, it's amazing. You'll notice that the individual that you're coaching starts to come up with, you know what, this isn't as bad as I thought, even though it could be terrible and it could be a monumental, but they start realizing for themselves that they can actually see that there's a potential and a possibility, especially getting through this. And then we work through the process of, okay, so what does that look like, right? And one of the challenges is getting them to make a commitment to what they want to do, not for my benefit, but actually for their benefit, right? And so that's, to me, the biggest difference that you're going to see between, working with someone and then actually coaching somebody through their processes and through their challenges.
If you had to give a tip to our technicians when it comes to embracing the service industry, the home service industry, but understanding how important is training. And sometimes I feel that people get excited when they see a training room. Oh, wow, this is amazing, this is good. And I say, so you do like the training room, right? Oh, hell yeah, that's just awesome. So it means you like training? And when I ask the question, you like training? All of a sudden that changed a little bit, right? Because they think training might be a punishment, so it could be sometimes like, is that necessary? What would be the biggest advice you can give a service technician when it comes to understanding training?
The concept of training isn't that we or anyone is pointing out that there's a need to make a change. The concept of training is are we maximizing ourselves, right? Are we maximizing what our capacity is or our potential? And where the advice that I give technicians is, this is a craft, this is an art, and the consumer does not care about all your knowledge, your wisdom, or your expertise. They really want to know that you're the right person, you're understanding what my needs are, and this is the right solutions that you're giving to me, as well as timing and cost, right? Price is actually one of the last things. A lot of technicians tend to put that first. It's price and knowledge, and it's actually, those are two of the lowest things. The value of the entire time that a technician spends at a house with a customer, if they spend 2 hours there, then probably 15 minutes is about what are you doing and what do you know.
It's going to be very similar question to you, Carlos. Being on a GM for a few years, obviously, early you talk about being in accounting, you got to experience connecting with them on a different level. Now as a GM, that obviously changed how they're gonna see you, and maybe the communication maybe start switching differently. If you had to give advice or tip from a training perspective, or the biggest benefit of a technician can have when it comes to training or helping, we love to help train and develop people, and I know that part because that's our kind of live our motto here. But from your perspective, you had to give somebody an advice coming into the service industry, what would that advice would be?
I think I'd just like to echo what Mark said is, training is not about changing you. It's simply about how do you become the best version of yourself. In the trades and in the industry, because of the way, the type of individual that leans into plumbing is someone who's just technically inclined, whether it's HVAC or plumbing. So to them, that is their world. Am I technically capable of wrenching this, fixing that? And along the way, they'll forget the side of, at the end of the day, it's not about what you know, it's what you care about and how you can present that to the customer. And training them not only on the trade, but on really the soft skills is where we see the best version of the tech. Because now they have a tool to be able to communicate all the information they know in a manner that shows that they care about the customer's needs, not that they care about the customer's water heater. It's not about the water heater working, it's about the customer and their family having a warm bath at night. whether they have kids or not. So I believe that the training is simply of bringing out the best version of the techs, and that best version will allow them to go a long way in their career as a technician.
And if I can and on that, recently I experienced an electrician's work at my house, and new construction, so it was a standard white outlet, white plate, and it didn't match one of the walls that we've got. And it drove my wife crazy. She looked at that. I mean, she's like, "My house is beautiful except for that eyesore over there." And I'm pointing at an outlet, so it's like I had to change this outlet for her along with a wall plate, and made the trek to the store, made sure I got the right color. So I got this bronze burnt rubbed oil finish, bronze, outlet, and then wall plate. Had to get the switches, had to get everything. But the thing that I remember the most, because I had all the trades in this house, building this house. I had plumbing, I had electrical, I had HVAC, drywall, all that other stuff. The one thing that I noticed is that when I spent time with that electrician, he was very thorough in the information, and he repeated everything back to me on where do I want these outlets? Are you sure you want to change this to a 3-way switch? You're hanging a ceiling fan here. You want can lights over here. You don't want the 6-inch, you want the 4-inch. And he kept going through this entire process. And I still remember that everything was done perfectly, but then I looked at the wall plate, and the center screw that held that wall plate up was perpendicular. It was absolutely perfectly up and down. And then I went to the next outlet, and it was the same way. And then I go to the wall plate with the 3 switches, and all 4 of those screws, or 6 of those screws, were all up and down. And then I looked around, and I said, "Oh my God, this guy is a master of his craft."
Wow.
And my wife said, "Who cares?" And I said, "Well, this is an artwork." I said, "I'm about to take apart this guy's artwork, right?" and he knows it, which is why he was in such high demand. This electrician is scheduled out on building houses for 19 months right now, right? So he has work for the next year plus.
Talking about detail, right?
Talking about detail, just that attention to detail. But that small point, I don't want to take away the technical skill in the artwork, is the yes and that I wanted to give. It's still essential. The customer sees it. But I still remember to this day, what was it like for him to connect with me, listen to me, hear me, repeat the stuff back, actually accomplish what it was, and then that white glove finish at the very end.
One of the things that Nexstar does an amazing job, on the 6 steps, setting expectations, right? And to be honest with you, that was new for me. I come from the 90s service industry, and that was not available. I mean, so for us, you got to navigate through a lot of understanding, connecting, and not depending on maybe extra things you had to do or connect with the customer. But there was no formal way to, here is the map, bro, to become a great technician or communicating well. So now that we have that available, that's a game changing. And for us, it's what we try to do today here. Coming in, bringing you guys on the Power Pro family, and know the importance of service. I just want to say, you're impacting our company and our people, and for us is always want to improve our team, and this is our best way that we can see improving our team. So thank you again. So a little bit, maybe I'm going to talk about a little bit of our Power Pro. I hope you don't mind about this.
No, I love it.
Okay. It's a question that we want to ask you. What do you see in Power Pro coming here and spend a couple of days? What do you see in Power Pro that could be unique, different, and just tell us, what do you see in Power Pro?
Yeah. So this is an easy one for me. It was, your core values was one of the things that I saw right away. It's written on the walls. It's about care, it's about trust, and it's about professionalism, and how it's known throughout your company. But it's actually one of the fibers. It's the root system that's sitting here, right? You've done a really good job of really pouring in the care, and I see it and I hear it. There are some stories, there's comments. We can sit around, we're joking over good food, right? We're having a great time, and I hear certain tidbits, certain stories about this happening, this happening, this happening, and this happening outside of work, and how the people here at Power Pro Plumbing and HVAC, like they were helping each other out, right? You get the sense of the care. The other part of that is It's there's the loyalty itself. You have some really deep roots in some long-term and tenured people that are here, which says something to the core values and the character within the company. And then the third thing that I would say is that there is a willingness to actually grow and want to do something different or something more that is going to keep y'all as leaders within the industry. I see that you embody that, and your leadership team has really reflected that this week with the time that I've been able to spend.
Before I go to another question, Carlos, anything you want to contribute to the auto questions or anything that you know?
Well, Mark mentioned our core values, and certainly for myself, they are the North Star, right? That's what keeps me grounded in the tough days, because any service company is going to have tough days, right? And every time that I'm forced to make a tough decision, because I have to, I'm in that position where sometimes I have to make the tough decision, I always lean on the core values.
Yes.
Is the decision that I'm making, how is it representing or reflecting the trust care professional? I need to ensure that the actions are always driven by that. And the core values, I remember we came up with them maybe 7 years ago, because when we got to visit some of these Nexstar shops who have already gone through the growth, that's the one thing we saw. We noticed, wow, the core values are there. So that they are written in stone almost, right? The pillars, right? The Rock of Gibraltars, whatever you want to call them. But we knew right away that we need to do that. And we sat down as a team. We came up with them together as pretty much the core team that is here now in the leadership. We came up, and I shared the story with Raul. I said, these words aren't catchphrases for me. They're going to have to mean something, because when the times get hard, as they often do when you commit to something greater than yourself, you need something to ground yourself to.
That's right.
Something that holds you there, and something that you can say, no matter what happened, I'm going to stick to that. And those core values have been that for me. So.
Oh, awesome, well said. We have our service story here, and I don't know if this is the time to talk about, but the service story has a special meaningful to my personal level. I go back to 1980, 88, 87. I started in the industry back then, and don't do the math because I'm
already there.
Yeah. Okay.
I was still in middle school, buddy. By the way.
So, I go back, and obviously my English has always been limited, but back then it was very super limited, and I remember back, and I went to this service call, and within the first month, people knew there was a couple requests. Can have Raul come to serve our house, and they knew there was some demand on the service, but my communication was really not there. So they asked me, like, what do you do? How do you do? Like, how do you do? And I say, how do you do what? No, like, really, how do you do? That doesn't make sense. And they asked me, I don't know. I just go and help people. I genuinely care to help them. I want to do the right thing. I always, have the right attitude. They're willing to help. So, to me, that was our service story. Service story is great people willing to go the extra mile, who genuinely cares to provide your service, with a great attitude. Every time, all the time, and that's our service story. Which is for us is very. That story came into Power Pro. What we are here is great people now, because we have a lot of great people delivering that. So now our story is great people willing to go the extra mile, who genuinely cares to provide great service. Yes. So it's not longer my story; it's our story. It's the people of Power Pro story. We consider great people always helping the community and people. So a little bit about. Sorry for talking about Power Pro, but it's our first podcast, and we want to take advantage of that.
Well, listen, it goes right back to what is the difference here, right? And so the difference is how do we make people feel like they're a part of everything, right? And y'all do that. Y'all embody it. It's the words that get used all the time. So I think it's extremely fitting that it gets mentioned and it gets re-mentioned, and it continues to stay at the surface for y'all here at Power Pro.
One of the things here, we have a couple of trainers, coaches, managers, and when we talk about genuinely care to help and develop people, I see the enjoyment on them helping. And to me, that means a lot. That's one of the biggest reasons that we joined Nexstar, to continue to see maybe, you know, at one point we run ourselves up and say, well, I don't know how I'm going to make this process systematic. And guess what? What's a better way to go to you guys? And you guys already built all that in place. And now we just follow the map road, which makes it a little easy. And of course, we still add a little spin here and there because we've been in the industry almost 40 years, and a lot of people all these years. But utilizing the Nexstar process, that's how we go in that direction. So, anything you want to add to the Nexstar, Carlos, from your perspective?
Nexstar, my first class at Nexstar in St. Paul really opened my eyes to when we talk about this is what next level looks like. Now, we'd visited other shops, the Nexstar shops that had gone through that growth and that commitment of we want to do the best, therefore we have to commit to the best practices, right? And when we talk about doing something, really we're talking about a process. Is your process really the best that'll get you the outcome you want? And we saw time and time these companies we visited, like, well, this is the communication, the way they spoke with each other, the core values. I thought, this is what we need. This is what we want. This is what we've been working towards. And we just need some fine tuning. We need a process in place. Something that we lacked, we didn't have. But I can tell you that my experience with Nexstar and I guess, Nexstar is member owned, is what they say, right?
That's exactly right.
Member owned and M1. So they're part of the company already. At least that's the vision that they have.
That's right.
M1. We come first to them, but they come first to us because, again, they're part of the company. They're a fabric of what we want to become and what we're working towards. Yeah. So I've had nothing but a great experience. I've been inspired because what I see is them genuinely wanting you to be the best version of yourself. We talked about training, right? It's training for us. We tend to assume that the training is only for the techs. It's for owners, it's for managers, GMs. Yeah. So they understand that it's not just for the techs. Because oftentimes in the trades, that's what you do, right? You look towards tech first, everything. They got to get trained first. They got to, why aren't they doing this? But they bring us back to like, well, this is a team effort. Yeah. It's. I think you mentioned the NASA story, right?
Right.
The janitors. They're not cleaning the floors. They're putting men on the moon.
That's exactly right. Everybody's a part of that.
That's a very valid point, Carlos. There's no way the leadership companies can grow up if the owners or the management team doesn't hold that accountability that they have to grow. They have to invest. We have to invest in improving ourselves.
Right.
And if we don't see ourselves that we need help, I don't know. I just don't see how the company can grow. So. That's a very great point. That yes, starts with management, owner, to understand that we all have to improve and we all have to get trained. And trust me, from a personal experience, I need a lot of help. So
well, and even you got uncomfortable this week, right? Yeah. There was some, let's not lose sight of, as an owner of a company, the decision to make to bring somebody such as Nexstar inside of your organization, and first having the wherewithal that it's needed, right? The consumer is evolving, the customer is evolving, the industry is evolving. Somebody else needs are changing, right? Even the technician that we hire today, they're different than what they were before. And one thing that I was very clear when I started connecting with your team of leadership here was, y'all are constantly asking the guys and gals that are either answering the phones, dispatching, or seeing the consumer to get uncomfortable and try something different. And they said, yeah. And I said, now it's time for you to get uncomfortable too. You're going to do something different. And you could see the body language changes, right? The arms crossing, like, well, what are you eating? I got to get uncomfortable. And then we break it down, because even the coaching process for you helping your team is broken down into 6 steps. Now, some of this stuff is broken down even deeper than that. Like we can get granular, and so seeing that we focus on it, we simplify it, because we talk about, hey, let's just focus on 1% here. If you could do this one thing here, one thing here, one thing here, and then people look at it, and then you share that with the technician. If you can just do this one couple of little things right here, and they're like, you know what, I can do that, right? And you did that this week as well, right? There was some.
You mean when I was busting the move?
Are you guys movie buffs by any chance? Do you guys like the Avenger movies?
Oh yeah.
There's
Oh,
a
yeah.
scene, and I'm not sure which one. There's so many Avengers where Banner, the Hulk, they asked him, "Well, how do you control your anger now?"
Yeah,
And do
he's
you guys
like,
remember what he said?
Yeah, I'm always
I'm
angry.
always angry.
That's
So when
right.
somebody asks you, like, well, what do you do when you're uncomfortable? I'm always uncomfortable because
Stay
I'm always
uncomfortable.
trying to
Stay
grow.
uncomfortable.
Right?
That's it.
So,
yeah.
Yeah,
That's
so
stuff
that's
that
one
we-
of the sayings. First, I want to go back to Nexstar, and obviously thanks all the coaches that have helped us contribute. Definitely want to go back to Jack and say thank you for all those years, Jack, putting an effort on Nexstar, and not Julius. Continue doing an amazing job. So definitely to the Nexstar family, from the Power Pro, say thank you. You guys doing an amazing job, and just want to make sure to cover that. Okay.
Except for Ben and Scott, they're quitters. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. If they hear this, they contributed a lot, and they knew what was best for us. They knew what we needed, and I think what they did for us was what we needed.
Yeah.
And they put us in touch with two individuals who had the time, who had
Right.
they understood this, and
Yeah.
said this is who they need.
Yeah.
So it worked out. So I'm just kidding, Ben. You're not a quitter.
Yeah, not at all. They really are a great tandem set of coaches. I actually, there's a time I wish I could just peel open Scott's brain, right? I'd peel open his head and just crawl in there. I told him this in there for a minute so I can just kind of glean some of the wisdom that he's got. But you're absolutely right. And so some of the accountability we keep here is how are we connecting with all of our members, right? And are we the right fit sometimes? Is there a need to possibly make some changes? And we give the members the ability to, if that's the case as well. So connectivity is a great thing. I believe that this was the right time for all of us. This was exactly the
I
right
do
time.
believe in meant to be to an extent, and in the timing. I think the timing it is critical, and the timing is: are you ready or you're not?
Yes.
Okay, and I think that plays a big role making
Sure.
when works right. If you're ready to go, it's gonna work.
Sure.
If you're not ready, it doesn't matter who's helping you. It's just I just see that not working. So making decisions to go for to make a decision, we're gonna go, and I think that timing it was that we made the decision, and I think that was a big difference for us. So I just wanna keep that in there. So anyways, going back to, I definitely also want to go back on the training. Sergio, an amazing job training our techs.
Yes.
Our techs love Sergio on the training, and I just want to say, Sergio, keep it up. You're doing an amazing job on training. And one of the things that we say on training, you have to be comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yes.
But what we told them here, don't worry, it's okay because we're gonna be uncomfortable all together here,
Yeah.
and that's how we're gonna improve.
Sure,
So
sure.
being uncomfortable, we're working on it.
Yeah.
Talking about right now being uncomfortable. This is my first podcast, and I don't know how good or bad I'm doing, but guess what? I'm putting my best effort, and I'm being uncomfortable. Well, yeah, a little uncomfortable, but guess what? It has to get done, right?
It needs to get done.
All right.
Might as well get it done.
Anyway, so going back to the, if you got to give a tip or advice to the Power Pro family, obviously being an implementation coach, you probably see the dynamics, the timing, where companies can come in and say, you know what, we're ready, and you go to the companies and you see certain things, and from there, obviously, you give your best advice based on what you see at that time, but. And then I hope you see that especially when the stories you come in, you see the dynamics.
Yeah.
Now you're gonna come in and maybe make people uncomfortable. Probably that in there too.
I think we made some people uncomfortable this
Yeah.
week for certain.
So, but also seeing the end result.
Yeah.
If you had to give us an advice to the Power Pro family, what would that advice be?
So there's a lot that can be buried inside of that. Stay uncomfortable is going to be one of the biggest things that I would say. It's not because you need to be uncomfortable, but it's like that first time that you go to a house that is an emergency situation, and that consumer is relying on you to resolve what's going on, whether it be a flood or you got a broken air conditioner, and I've got an elderly sitting inside of the house, and so you've never seen it. You get there for your first time, and you start realizing you might be in a little deep, right? And how do you stay calm? Where are you at? So my advice is you always need to look forward, look up, and lean on those that you've got that's around you. This is where Nexstar comes in. This is where the rest of your team kind of comes in as well. and then know that the process has been refined, it's been defined, but it's not something that we won't revisit. We constantly revisit because, again, the consumer has changed. It's going to evolve over time in every aspect, from one-to-ones, coachings, ride-alongs, how service system is actually done, and so on and so forth. So stay uncomfortable, get uncomfortable, lean on those that you're at, look forward, look up, and know or trust in the ones that you've got that are around you that are part of your partnership.
Carlos, what do you learn, having Mark here these days? Is there anything you take away or what can you share with us
Well, because I've really dug into kind of Nexstar for maybe 2 years now. I'm reminded of sometimes the teams just kind of needs to hear from an outside perspective, right? I think I'm not a parent, but I think you guys are. I'm sure you've had that situation where you've told your kids something, right? And they didn't listen to you. And then somebody else, or you know what, our wives,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
We might have said, hey, do this,
Right.
and they don't listen to you. And then one
Right.
day they come home, it's like, guess what the doctor told me? Or guess what somebody, and you're like, you're thinking to yourself, seriously? We've been
Yeah.
talking about this, right?
Right.
But that's just human nature, right?
Yeah.
And that's just, it's on us to understand that. And then
Right.
the great thing about Nexstar is that they have that. We have that ability to have them echo something we know to be true.
Yes.
And I've learned that, sometimes working in the job, sometimes we forget, right? And it's when we get to step back to work on it with partners that we're reminded that the team just sometimes needs to hear an outside perspective. That the perspective is just simply echoing what you're saying.
Sure.
And we have to be okay with accepting that and say, okay, I get it. You had to hear it here. Trust me, that happened to me a couple of times. There's a couple of ahas, like, yeah, all right, we said that, but it needed to be heard from somebody else, another source.
Yeah, never take it personally.
Never.
Familiarity brings content, right? So because we're so close to some of it, or they're so close to us, that it can sometimes seem like you're just talking, right? And so I totally agree, and I get that, and I'm just glad that the message is already there, because guess what? Sometimes it can't be received until somebody has actually started sowing that in.
Tell you what, let me tell you what I learned this couple of days, that it's sometimes we keep looking up and up and up and try to keep moving forward, and what I learned the last couple of days, it was very simple, and as simple as going back to our service story, and say you genuinely have to care, and you have to care, and I think I go back and say, if we can genuinely put that genuinely into do what we do, but to do what the people here and us, like, let them know, look, as a company, we all have to get trained too. And I think we're talking about training. Well, the companies needs training too. Our people needs training too. We need training too. And I think what I see it is, we have to humble ourselves to say, hey, you know what? I need help. I need training. Can you help us with this? And just speak with your heart. Speak within. Say, look, we need to get better. We need help. And I think that just understanding that, our core values say trust. We have to trust we trust the people, trust what we're working, and we have to care. And care, just let them know what we're trying to do, why we're doing things, and speak from the heart, and keep it real, keep it genuine.
Sure.
And guess what? And always be professional, right?
Yes.
So anyways, for me, it is just being genuine of who we are and continue to do what we have to do to make sure we have Power Pro for years to come. Okay.
Yes.
So anyways, all right. So we have a couple more questions here. Any stories that you can share that will make sense for you to tell us?
Yeah, I asked the permission to share this. There's a guy, his name is Josh, and he's an HVAC service manager, and he's got a counterpart who is one of his plumbing managers. And the plumbing manager, he leaned into a Zoom camera and said, "Mark, I'm not the guy who's going to go do a ride along. I'm just not that guy, so we can stop talking about it." And I kind of snickered about it and said, okay. you're not going to do a ride along. And so there was some struggles. So he hit 3, 4, almost 5 months of just really not winning, not even getting close. He was defeated, and we continued talking or connecting every 2 weeks. And then finally one day he leans in that camera and he says, "Can we go back over the ride-alongs? I guess I need to go ahead and get out in the field." Probably because he got a little pressure from the guys up top, right? On what are you going to do to make a difference and make a change? And I said, so instead of meeting every 2 weeks, let's meet next week. So he shows up the next week and he leans right in that camera and he goes, "They're not doing an effing thing. Not one thing at all that we've been talking about as it came to following the process and service system." And so he started doing his ride-alongs, and so much so that he even I had to reschedule our time together around the time that he was spending on the truck. It became just a natural thing for him. And here's what transpired. There were 2 success stories that he had. One was one of his technicians got back to what he had learned several years before, or plumbers got back to learning what he learned several years before, and his conversion rate was 100% for almost 4 weeks. It was like 3 weeks and 2 days. He was at 100%. As a matter of fact, it was we talk about like that safety, how many days of safety do we have? He was literally counting, I've got 24 days of 100% conversion, and then he had to take it back down to 0. And it was not just that success, but it was monumental for him and for everyone else. And he got a standing ovation from the owners of the company, as a matter of fact. When it did come to an end, everybody came in and they gave him a standing ovation. And they asked him, "What are you doing?" And he said, "I'm not doing anything. I'm just following the process. The process does itself." At the same time, this guy hires a new team member that had been in commercial, never worked residential. And for a couple weeks, he brings him up, teaches him everything. And then this guy goes out there for 3 weeks and becomes one of the top performing on the team, the service team that they had. And he was mixed in with some really good performers. And he becomes top. Everybody, of course, is looking at it saying, well, he must be running the best calls. They started looking at his calls like they're scrutinizing. And finally, somebody in the service meetings, they were all, giving accolades. They said, "What are you doing?" And he says, "Not a thing. I'm following the system. The system actually does the work for you." And so the success story is, for the manager, follow the process, right? We're going to help walk you through what that process is. Yes, it's difficult sometimes to get outside of that comfort zone and make the time for it. And for those of you that are working so hard out in the field, what would you do if you didn't have to work so hard? I mean, the hardest thing you had to work on was, how do I present an agenda to a customer, because this is new, right? But yet the rest of it takes care of itself. And this shop, this plumbing shop, which I have to tell you, they were down after the first 5 months this year in plumbing by between $300,000 and $400,000. And in 1 month, they actually made up almost a third of that in one single.
Wow. So that's when you talk about, don't get caught in the results, but get caught up on the process, because the process will get you the results. Does that fit into that?
Process gives you the results.
So that's a good way to, we say that a lot of times, but it's always good to hear from people that if you get caught up on the process, the results will always be there. Yeah. I'm a big fan of Kobe, and there's one thing they always remember. He say, "I fall in love with the game of fundamentals."
Yes. Yeah.
It means practice how you're gonna get there.
That's right.
So to me, this is where we can practice.
Absolutely.
Practice how you help people.
Yeah.
Practice. How do you gotta make a difference in somebody's home? That they gotta appreciate what you do in a way that they're genuinely happy. And here it is for us. It's about service. Yeah. And if you can provide service, there's a lot of things we can do within the service. Being genuine, being helpful, and being honest, doing the right thing.
Absolutely.
Okay. Carlos, before we wrap this here, is there anything you want to add into here that you want to?
I think we can all agree, right? When you look at the solution, it's simple, right? Trust the process. You're a manager, trust the process. You're a technician, trust the process. CSR, trust the process. So when we start looking at each other, we can say, well, what are they doing well? They're following a process. What are they doing well? They're following a process.
Right.
I think we all agree on that. Once you have a process down, and to Mark's point, Nexstar spends thousands of hours to ensure that they have the best practice in place and are willing to adapt to the changing environment, the changing consumer. At the end of the day, they're still looking for the best process that give consistent results.
Yeah.
And that, it's that simple that sometimes it drives us crazy when we're having these struggles. We're like, well, aren't we just following the
So
process?
it's about the process. I mean, there's a little thing. I don't know if this. You ever hear Iverson say, "You're talking about practice"?
Yeah.
There was a little glitch that I don't know how many times he said. We're gonna talk about the process.
Yeah.
So it's about the process, and if you find a way to implement the process, the process will get you the results. So it's about the process.
Absolutely.
But the process has genuinely helping people that you need to have that along the way too.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and the best part about just getting the process through everyone, to your point as well. So my yes and is, you have coaches for every bit of that process, right? You have your marketing coaches, you have your call center coaches, you have your inside sales rep coaches, you have your sales coaches, you've got your implementation coaches, inventory coaches. We all exist, right? Even software coaches. We all exist because we understand that every facet of the business that y'all have needs someone that can actually help with. Let's simplify this. Let's get it under, a normal structure, right, or a standardized structure, so that it just continues to evolve and to grow and become a very manageable thing for you too. So.
No, definitely. We want to, I want to make sure we say once again, thank you for coming.
Yeah.
So also want to make sure thank you to Carl. Make sure to, thank you. You put in a lot of effort and helping us. We do need a lot of help too, so don't get me wrong, but you know what, we're ready too, and we're just looking to move forward. All right.
Excellent.
Hopefully we have the, our vision obviously it is continue to grow and keeping the Power Pro way of, I guess the genuine, the professional, keeping the course of Power Pro is very important to us. And hopefully we're a little closer to where we want to go. How close are we to get where we need to go based on what we discussed? I mean,
my goodness.
let's say from 1 to 10, we're kind of like what on, what do you think?
So
Closer?
Well, definitely some evolution this week. Some of the things, and I complimented the team. There was a growth moment. There was a proud papa moment that happened yesterday afternoon in your L10 meeting with everybody that you facilitated here, Carlos. That really, to me, started taking the team to a different place and a different level, and on the leadership. And by the way, that's what your team needs. That's what your team needs, and then that's what the rest of your company needs to see. And as the rest of your company sees this and they know this and they understand that, you're going to see that there's going to be a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more, and it's going to be that buy-in and that embrace of, okay, we're going in a direction that we need to. Y'all are so close. Okay. Y'all are so close. There is a couple of extra, just a couple of extra inches, and the touchdown gets there, right? And then you can start scoring on a repetitive basis, right? So I would say on a scale of 1 to 10, y'all are 5. Y'all are right there. You're halfway, which probably feels stronger than where you may feel whenever you look at the numbers at the end of the day, right? And what some of the struggles have been leading up to this visit over the last couple of years, right? Know that, because anything beyond a 5 means that you're starting to score and you're starting to outscore the competition, if that makes sense.
No, thank you. First, before we end this, definitely want to thank every single person that is that's part of the Power Pro family. Everybody, office technicians, helpers, managers, office. Just want to say thank you. For us, it's so simple because we just have to keep it who we are. Yeah. Be genuine, be real, be open, and just be together. And I think the word together is probably the thing that we not be together, but know how to work together with maybe collaborate and work and understand together in a way that we all go one direction. And for us, it's just being one direction. Yes. I think that simplify that direction. I do feel that is our way where we want to go. So for us is just keeping it real, keep it genuine, but most important, together, one direction. Carlos?
It's been an absolute pleasure having you here. I speak on behalf of the team, and I know Raul obviously has said it himself, but I do believe that the experiences that I was afforded by visiting the Nexstar shops, the Nexstar facility, working with the Nexstar coaches has really illuminated my thought process and made me that much better. And I want to thank Raul because he allowed me to do that. He gave me the opportunity. But more importantly, he recognized, as I did, that our team members needed that too.
Yeah.
And we started sending them. We started making them communicate with you guys, and then their eyes open, just as ours did. And I think, again, thank you, Raul, for that, because I think you had to you had to commit to that.
Yeah.
Like Mark said, you're part of the 0.01 now that has somebody on site.
Exactly
So
right.
that's a big win.
That's it. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Mark. Anything else you want to say here?
No, listen, just stick with the process, right? Stick with what we're doing. We're going to continue to see this forward. I'm looking forward to coming back, hopefully in the near future, and spending some time with y'all where we just celebrate for an entire day about the
You want more
success.
tacos?
I want lots of more tacos.
Okay. Thursday or Tuesday?
Well, we could, you know what? Whatever day works out best for us, we can make it Monday if we need to.
Is this your first podcast too?
Yeah, this is my first podcast.
So it's our first podcast. All three
All
of us.
right. Well, thank
Well,
you.
Excellent. Thank
You know what? Let's keep it here on that.
Yeah.
No, let's thank you. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank
All
you,
right.
sir. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Thank you.